Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. Of course, tape live at Twitch, twitch.tv/Steven Larson. So we're sort of in the doldrums of wrestling programming right now, Larson. If you notice, we actually have like 2 weekends in a row where there's nothing going on. So this coming weekend, though, the Enforcer is going to be here in town in Sacramento, and it's for a very special occasion. It's the Going In Raw Stakes. We have purchased the naming rights to a horse race at the California State Fair and Food Festival, I think is what they technically call it now.
Yeah, they had Food Festival. The title set Cal Expo, Fairgrounds. It's Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, 17th, I believe. Yes, the post time is 1:45 p.m.
That's from what I understand, that's when the racing starts.
It's the very first race of the day.
Yeah, it is the very first. Oh, okay.
It's the very first race. Wow. Yeah, we got the first race.
Nice.
Kicking things off in style. We got the first race. I don't know what time the grandstand and the whole facility opens. I imagine we'll get there early. So if friendos live in the NorCal area, interested in horse races, come on out. It's fun to bet on the ponies. I don't know where we're going to be sitting yet. I'm going to get the tickets later this week and hopefully get some answers to this. I don't know if we're just sitting. We just have some reserved seats in the grandstand. We have our own kind of separate. I don't know any of this.
I saw the word box, so I'm hoping that means something.
Yeah, but you could have a box. Could just be a set of seats that are in the grandstand, just kind of their own little section. Not necessarily like a luxury suite. I'm not expecting that. So
Mr. Dope asked if it's going to be on TV. It's not going to be on TV, but I might try. Now, number one, I'm definitely going to be vlogging. Number two, I'm going to try to at least fire up Twitch on my phone and stream the actual Going In Raw Stakes.
Yes.
I'm going to try to do that. Enforcer in chat here wants to know, can we get the Miro horn to open up the racing that day?
I'll ask when I go pick up the tickets if we can have our own start. But it might scare the horses, and we don't want that to happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. So it should be a lot of fun. Like we said, we have no idea really what the seating situation is. So if you want to come out, maybe you'll catch us, maybe you won't. I have no idea. I'd love to say, hey, let's do a meetup, but I don't know how long.
We're gonna be there longer than just our race, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're gonna be sitting. Yeah, we're gonna be betting on the ponies all day long.
Oh, that's great. That's music to my ears.
So, yeah, I don't know. But, again, I don't know, like, are we going to be, is there, like, a place where everybody can hang out? I don't know the situation. We don't know it. So, like, if you're coming out just to hang out with us, I don't know. That's a guarantee. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, once I pick up the tickets later this week, I'll have a better idea of
better scope
we'll
out
be,
the situation
so on and so forth.
Better.
Enforcer here says satellite wager, although it says Wagner, will be available. So yes, you can.
Oh,
if you go to like a simulcast place, like they have that there at Cal Expo, a simulcast where you can bet on horses from.
I wonder, like at least online, is it gonna can you watch it online if you're gonna? Maybe I don't know. There's so much.
Enforcer says wagering. Yes, satellite wagering. Yes, you can.
I like Satellite Wagner better, which is what he put here. That's a great wrestler's name, Satellite Wagner.
It is. Write that down for Steve W.
I got it right. Speaking of, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Before we get to our backstage reaction to Vince McMahon's story, AEW Shark Week story, and Natalya no-selling Liv Morgan's finish story, a new Steve W tonight, twitch.tv/MFSteve here, also on the Friendo Club TV channel. The very first episode, the VOD, the video on demand of Steve W, is going live today at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Also, for you awesome patrons, Twitch subs, and YouTube channel members, Numbers Don't Lie is today. We're switching it over to Monday to help us with the notification issue with Smash-In on Thursdays. So today, Kenny Omega, visit us on the Patreon at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Also on the Patreon today, in coordination with the first episode of Steve W, Steve W After Dark. A single dark match from Steve W, which could have ramifications on the stories. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. Huge surprises. Sure.
Exciting stuff.
Why not?
Exciting stuff.
So help support us on the Patreon, patreon.com/Steve and Larson. We're going to also talk about Smackdown and Rampage today. Of course, the Maximum Male Models debuted their tennis collection. I'm sure that was a huge deal, and one person I'm sure was very interested in that was Vince McMahon. Speaking of Vince McMahon, on a recent edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer spoke about the backstage reaction among the talent to the investigation into Vince McMahon's misconduct allegations. We've got some transcripts here from our friendos over at Wrestle Talk, but if you recall, Vince McMahon is now under closer scrutiny because of another Wall Street Journal report that says Vince McMahon has spent over $12.5 million in hush money in those NDAs, and one of them, $7.5 million, apparently, to a talent back in around 2005 or so. It was particularly egregious. Go and watch that episode if you want to see what the details are, because they're kind of too gross. It's mundane. I don't really. They're gross. He's gross.
Yeah, he is.
This is what Dave said.
Yeah.
He said, I heard from a couple of talent backstage. A total variety of views. It wasn't like there was one view or anything. It's actually 3 totally different views. One person was saying, you know what you get into when you get into the business. Which, let's just pause there, Larson. I understand what he's saying. Isn't that a sad state of affairs in WWE?
It really is.
When in 2022, these days, when there does seem to be a bit more accountability at the top, you can't do certain things, man. But in WWE, evidently, par for the course. You know what you're getting into because they're carnies. Continuing on, Meltzer says another person said Vince didn't sell it. Nobody's really talking about it because you don't want to talk about it, because if somebody hears you talk about it, you get in trouble. No one needs that. And then he concludes with one person was very concerned in the sense of they felt that it's one thing to pay money if you're trying to hide an affair or something like that. But once it becomes coercion, and once it ties into the business and the work and demotion and things like that, it becomes a really concerning issue. He says, I'm sure there's 20 other viewpoints as well. I didn't get a sense at all of a prevailing viewpoint. I mean, here's the thing also. It's not like any of these things necessarily are mutually exclusive. It seems like they can all sort of feed into each other. You know, it's like, number one, because of the culture, you don't want to get talking about it. You don't want to get caught talking about it because, what? You'll get in trouble.
Yep.
Another one saying, you know what you're getting into. So people going into this shitty situation with eyes wide open because they love the craft. You know, this is what they've chosen to do for their job. And then this third point of view here, you know, it's just, it's an issue because it's just this power hungry, you know, abuse of power rather.
Yeah.
Is an issue.
Yeah, it's a massive issue.
Yeah.
It's a massive issue. Absolutely. I think today, the 2 reporters who wrote the Wall Street Journal pieces spoke on Busted Open Radio, and they talked about this aspect of it, the latter aspect about the coercion and whatnot, and why that is a massive issue. I didn't get a chance to go through the full like transcript of it, so that's why it's not here in the notes. That's something I definitely want to go through later today. I do have this up from the Wrestling Observer. The 2 authors were Joe Palazzolo and Ted Mann. Sorry if I got the names wrong. One of the authors says, it's clearly a governance issue. We write for investors. Wall Street Journal, this is the we. And when your board of directors is investigating something like this, it's pretty interesting. Elsewhere, they talk about the initial NDA. Says when you see that in this case, it was a total secret from the board, or at least members of the board for a long time. We find it interesting. That makes us want to go digging and find out more. And elsewhere, if you're seeing your chief executive not only permitting this kind of conduct, but engaging and leading the way with it, that's the problem all the way down. That speaks to the overall culture, you know, especially at the top.
Yeah,
I would imagine. They talk about the $7.5 million NDA. They call that number eye-popping.
Yeah.
Says that's a figure in the murky world of NDAs that clearly suggests a big secret being kept. That was one of the red flags that signaled to us that we needed to get to the bottom of what it was and what that was for. Let me see if there's any other kind of... Oh, asked about potentially other allegations emerging. They said probably not done yet, but they don't have anything, quote, in their back pocket, in terms of allegations to report on.
Yeah. You only kind of hope that, number one, the whatever investigation is being conducted right now is going to lead. I mean, at this point, it's like it's got to lead to his ouster. He's got to be gone. You know,
you would think so.
I mean, it's awful. Like the $7.5 million one, the coercion stuff.
Okay, let me get here. Sorry to interrupt. Let me get this. Ted Mann, one of the authors, said this about the coercion aspect. It says, and I'll just add one thing to that. As Joe said, as a public company, and we're operating in an environment where, this is from Post Wrestling, where there is very little tolerance for any sort of relationship of this type between a CEO or an executive or someone who is a subordinate, even if it is consensual, because the power dynamic that exists there is something that has proved to be really dangerous for the more subordinate person in the company. So that's one of the ways in which all public companies have been representing that they're not really going to allow things like this to be swept under the rug anymore. And certainly in this case, when there's something that was a total secret from the board, some members of the board, sorry, I got to that bit of the quote, but anyways, I want to get that quote in there because it's...
Well, I mean, that's important to remember too. I mentioned this on the Friday show. There's like a list that I found of, you know, top CEOs, top executives in media and other fields. And the vast majority of them, it was like 10 of them. The majority of them were consensual relationships, you know, with subordinates, with other employees. And yeah, these days you can't do that because you know, there is the power dynamic thing.
Yep.
And it, as much as you know, you might want to think, well, it's two people. It was consensual. They both knew what they were getting into. I'm sure that there's an element of truth to that. You know, it's like we can't go in there and say, hey, I know better where your head and where your heart's at than you do. But when it comes to how that plays out in the corporate world, that is incredibly frowned upon because of the power dynamics, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, even if everybody had their heads on right and there's no, you know, indication that there's any wrongdoing or influence or anything like that, or if somebody isn't swayed by power, it's just frowned upon in the corporate world. And like, you know, like the CEO of Intel, I believe, which has a market cap of like 150 billion compared to WWE's, for example, 5 billion, 4 or 5. And he had to step down because of it. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was one of them. It was a consensual relationship. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, that stuff, when you're dealing with publicly traded companies, that stuff is a big deal. But then when you bring in coercion and $7.5 million NDA, it honestly, I understand it's Vince McMahon. Be kind of shocking if he wasn't removed. And it's funny because I've seen people out there, oh no, he owns the company, he can't be removed. He absolutely can. It's a publicly traded company. The board of directors can vote him out. So that can totally happen. And yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I get, you know, maybe they'll have to, this has to wait until the investigation is done with for anything to happen. I mean, unless Vince like, oh, fine, I'm just going to keep on going until they remove me, which seems like a Vince thing to do.
Yeah, it does seem like a Vince thing to do. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that we didn't really talk about on Friday, which we can kind of expand on a little bit, I guess, is like what would happen after that. Let's say today, let's say we got some breaking news during the show. Vince McMahon has decided to resign from WWE completely. What would happen there? You know, I had thought going into it that perhaps a McMahon is a McMahon is a McMahon, and they'd all have to leave. But given that the board, seemingly independent of Triple H, of Vince McMahon, of Nick Khan, voted
they had to recuse himself for that vote,
voted for Stephanie to still be CEO. And she seems, from all reports we've seen, she seems to be very well liked there. I guess it wouldn't be abnormal or it wouldn't be odd for her to continue on as CEO. I mean, that in the interim, it seems like that's the person that they're going to go to. And I wonder if she would be then put in sort of as not interim, as sort of, you know,
CEO.
Proper, straight up CEO.
Yeah,
I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that, man?
I mean, I guess the assumption would be that, you know, whenever Vince, for whatever reason, stepped away, that it would probably be Nick Khan would be next in line to assume at least his duties from the business side of things. based on how quickly he assumed a lot of responsibility after he was brought in as president. But the fact that, Stephanie was voted as interim CEO, maybe there is something to be said about keeping the company's or control of the company in the family, because the family name is so synonymous with the company and the business at large, Yeah. And so having Stephanie there, plus she's well liked,
yeah,
seemingly, that goes a long way in terms of improving, I would think, not just corporate culture, but also the mood backstage.
Yeah. It doesn't seem from like what we've read, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing where Stephanie would be in charge and people would be like, oh, well, it's just another, it's going to be same old because Stephanie's in charge instead of Vince. After everything Vince has been through and seemingly has put Stephanie through, it wouldn't surprise me if he was like, hey, I can, he texts Stephanie and she's like, no, Dad, it's not going to happen. Go away. And if I don't know if it'd be a puppet type situation. I tend to give Stephanie a bit more credit than that, just based off stuff that we've read. But no, there's something to be said. It cracks me up whenever it's reported or people see Nick Khan sitting like ringside watching wrestling happen, because what you're saying about the family name, not just the family name, but she has literally grown up in wrestling, and it's a very unique business. It's not like, for example, the movie industry has thousands upon thousands and thousands of people working in it. And with wrestling, it's not really that. It's not like you have like a million different, wrestling studios or whatever. I mean, there's all sorts of obviously indie leagues and everything, but like there's only one WWE, and wrestling is a very unique thing that I don't know. You can be Nick Khan and just come in a couple of years, be like, yeah, no, I get the ins and outs. You take a bump.
I know.
Although I don't know, Tony Khan did it, so so maybe
that's true.
But again, as a fan, anyways, he was in it. He kind of understands stuff, but even then, he had some really important people around him, mainly Cody Rhodes, ushering his way through the wrestling business. And now we see what happens when Cody's gone. We get this Shark Week stuff, Larson. What's going on with that?
Oh, man, this is great.
What a great transition that was.
This is fantastic. Good transition, too. So AEW announced on Rampage on Friday that Eddie Kingston's going to be taking on Chris Jericho in a barbed wire ropes match on Dynamite this week, with Jericho Appreciation Society suspended above the ring in a shark cage. So in the latest Wrestling Observer, on the latest Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer mentioned that Discovery apparently asked AEW to do a Shark Week crossover. This is what Dave said, quote, the Shark thing. He's so dismissive of this.
Yeah,
the Shark thing.
Understandably so.
No, I love this idea. The Shark thing, I guess, is the gimmick having to do with the Shark Week. Sorry, I added the with Shark Week. Discovery asked them to do a tie-in, so they came up with a match to do a tie-in. I'd much rather do something like this than shoehorn some product into a segment like we saw with that Alexa Bliss thing at Money in the Bank, where she's talking to Lily, and oh wait, this is a credit card commercial. You get a feud here. It's got a lot of heat. Eddie Kingston, he wants blood. You got the barbed wire. What's a good way to get Shark Week involved in this? Shark cage, both the ring. I think this is brilliant.
It cheapens the shit out of a potential feud of the year with Eddie and Jericho. Number one, you got the entirety of Jericho Appreciation Society, besides Jericho, of course, suspended above the ring. It's going to be a large Shark Tank. That's
Shark
terrifying.
Cage,
that's a huge thing to suspend above the ring. That's terrifying, number one. I don't like that, because what if it falls on them and then crushes them? That'd be horrifying.
Yeah, that's like the first thing I thought of, too.
I'm not against. Why are we so downer? We're such downers. We're like, oh,
well, my God. I've mentioned before, I live in a constantly anxious state. And if I think of something that can go wrong, that's like the prevailing thought.
We have better help today? We do better help already? Okay, nice. So yeah, that's our integration right there. Yeah, dude, I don't know. I think it's so dumb. But I mean, that's cool. Discovery asked them to do a tie-in. Hey, don't think that they're going to be above. You think that the credit card stuff was goofy? Discovery's going to keep on asking them to do goofy ass shit like this.
See, but here's the thing. I'd rather have them do this than, like, the zombie match. You know?
Oh, the zombies were great.
No, that was corny as shit, man.
Oh, that was amazing. The zombies were great.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, zombies, it's the most W Steve W thing.
But it wasn't W Steve W.
Why aren't they doing actual sharks for Shark Week? Put them down there with some, have them fight with sharks.
That's a fair question.
Swimming around.
Fair question.
All right. We're on the
fair
same
question.
page
I'll give you that one, but I think something like this that it makes sense in terms of the story. Eddie doesn't want JAS getting involved in his match against Jericho. Put him in a shark cage. It makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I love
it's a sensible integration. It makes sense from the story perspective. If it's in your perspective, it cheapens the feud. I won't argue with that. Same time, I think in terms of coming up with a way to do a tie-in that feels not organic per se, but makes sense within the context of the story they're telling. This doesn't bother me.
I think it just bothers me more that it's going to be suspended above the ring. There's going to be like 8 people suspended above the ring.
Well, there's 2.0.
It's like 5
There's
people,
Garcia. There's Hager, but I think Hager have a match earlier in the show, so he might not be in it.
Oh yeah, right.
So it would be 4.
Is he fighting Claudio on that show?
Yeah.
Or is that on the Rampage?
No, I think that's on that show.
Okay. Well, that's cool. The conversation's fun to have. Yeah, it's fine. It's whatever. They got to make their money, so that's cool. Yeah, the shark cage thing. I wish they would just have like a shark cage up at the top of the ramp or something. You know, that's cooler.
It's not quite as dramatic though.
I was gonna be worried the entire time watching this shit.
No, I understand.
I always feel like AEW
is
like teetering on the verge of disaster.
Oh, because you know what's going to happen. Sammy's going to do something crazy.
Oh God, yeah. You're right. That's not good. I'm telling you, man. Sometimes AEW scares the shit out of me. They're just teetering on the edge of disaster.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, man.
And usually it has to do with Sammy Guevara, so that's a good point. So yeah, that's cool. Anyways,
let's take a quick break here. Get a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Steve, I got a question for you.
Okay.
What do you do to take care of your brain?
Man, I don't know. Wear a hat? I've never really thought about it. I don't know.
Well, Steve, how we care for our brains can affect how we experience life, so it's important to take the time and care necessary to keep your brain healthy. I mean, there are tons of ways you could support your brain health. You could learn a new language. You could take power nap.
Yes, that's what I do. I take lots of naps. I love them.
You take lots of naps?
Yes.
Okay. That's good. But you could also try BetterHelp Online Therapy. You know, there was a time in my life where I was dealing with severe anxiety, so I've been through the process of trying to find a therapist, and I know how tough it can be to find the right person to talk to. But BetterHelp Online Therapy makes that process much more convenient by offering video, phone, and even live chat therapy sessions.
BetterHelp can get you matched up with a therapist in less than 48 hours, and it's much more affordable than in-person therapy. And right now, Going In Raw listeners can get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/raw. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw. Let's talk about this, man. We got the G1 coming up, Larson. Of course, it's starting late this week, I think, isn't it? Like the 16th, 17th, something like that?
16th or 18th?
Well, if you want to know what's going on, if you want the best details, if you want the skinny, as they say, on the G1, hey, we got you covered right now. YouTube.com/Steven Larson and wherever audio podcasts can be found. It's our New Japan G1 Climax 32 2022 preview with special guest Karen Peterson. Be sure to watch this. It's good stuff. Karen is a keen observer of New Japan. She's written for Post Wrestling, for Pro Wrestling Illustrated. She had a interview with Go Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. She knows her New Japan. She did a terrific job of cluing us in on who we think will be winning that G1 to help, you know, because August, of course, is going to be nothing but G1 for our predictions. So it's going to be a lot of fun for that.
It is.
We'll keep you guys updated on all that stuff.
To confirm, night 1 of the G1 is Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Saturday, July 16th.
Friday night for us.
Yes.
Okay, great. Cool. Well, that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, we got to make sure to fill in all of our stuff. I think I filled my preliminary ones in.
All right.
But I guess so. I have something.
To the spreadsheet. You have to go to the spreadsheet that I made and fill it out officially.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have all my matches filled. Yeah, I got to do that. All right,
I did that after. I've done that already.
Okay, well,
I might go review a little bit. But
good for you. Let's talk about this really quick. This morning I woke up and I had a text message from Mr. Dope, and it linked to this tweet, and the tweet was a video of Natalya eating Liv Morgan's finish, and then eating the 3 count. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then immediately she springs up. She does some finger wagging at Liv Morgan, and then she storms off. And Dope was like, this happened at the WWE house show here in Sacramento. Now Larson house shows for WWE, they could be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Mainly because WWE allows certain wrestlers to be a bit looser, a little bit goofier maybe for the non-televised crowd. All sorts of notable fun moments at house shows have been documented throughout the years, like, for example, when Triple H almost lost his career because he wanted to hug his friends in the ring before they left for WCW. This past weekend, right here, like I said, in Sacramento, California, the Golden One Center, similar incident took place. Aforementioned Liv Morgan hit the aforementioned Natalya with her aforementioned finish to close out their match for the SmackDown Women's title. She tried to cover up this incident by tweeting out that she was thanking Liv Morgan, but then she deleted that. At least she didn't do this on a pay-per-view like it was Austin Aries' sad last day in Impact, Larson. What's your thoughts on Natalya breaking character and springing up and giving Liv Morgan the what for?
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. And so she takes the finish, gets the 3 count, and then she gets up, does this, says something to her.
Yeah.
And then rolls out of the ring.
Yeah.
She gets up, and she does like this kind of motion too.
Mm-hmm.
And then just leaves. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, man.
I mean, Natalya is a professional. She's been in this industry for a long time.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't think she would intentionally try to make somebody look poor, at the finish of a ring. Like she wouldn't want to show anybody up purposely.
She did that.
Yeah, I know.
That's
so I don't know. Like when I first heard about it, because I hadn't seen the video till now, I thought, oh, maybe people sometimes they just go out there and like, oh, they forget. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it would be a thing where she just kind of sprung up, rolled out of the ring, and walked off, and be like, oh, oops, I need to sell this a bit more. That happens from time to time. But when you see the finger out there wagging, I don't know. It depends what happened, or if there's something that happened earlier in the match. That irritated her.
Yeah, there's some sort of miscommunication there that rubbed her the wrong way. And in the moment, you lose it. You're at a house show. Like you said, she's a professional, so she knows at a house show you can do fucking whatever you want there.
Yeah, probably.
And this is the thing is, like, everybody's got cameras out watching. She's like, it's me and Liv Morgan. Nobody's going to be recording this. She's probably not even thinking about that because she's so old school. She goes back such a long ways. She's probably seen a lot of shit like this at house shows. A little goosier, loosey-goosey, whatever the phrase is.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe she got. I saw something on Twitter, like in the replies, like, "Oh, Liv poked her in the eye" or something. I was like, I have no idea where you get that from. But I don't know. It was something like that. If there's some miscommunication. She gets up, and says, "Hey, the fuck, stop doing whatever you just did."
Yeah, I don't know.
You're the champion.
Without knowing the full context of what happened during the match, it's hard to make a determination of why.
Maybe Liv didn't show up with the proper champion's dress code. Like
the reason Undertaker was upset with
CM Punk. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to dress like a true champion, like John Cena, and wear jorts. CM Punk's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, can you believe it? The Maximum Male Model Tennis Collection 2022 made its debut on this week's SmackDown. It was great. It was honestly. So I'm confused. The Maximum Male Model Agency, from what I understand, is a model agency.
Yeah, not a fashion company.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But evidently, they're also a fashion line.
That could be.
Because they debuted their tennis collection.
Let me ask you something.
Yes, please.
Did Max Dupree forget his lines?
Several times.
Yeah.
Yeah, several times. I noticed that too. Yeah.
Or he had to look at his cards.
Yeah, he had to look at his cards a couple times. He repeated himself a couple times. I don't care. It was fucking awesome. I love this shit. It's great. You know, honestly, this is God's honest truth. I want Vince gone, right? Because scumbag, right?
Yeah, totally.
That said, this shit's probably going to disappear when he's gone. Do you think that's the case? It's kind of like a big picture thing, but do you think this kind of goofy, weird shit that clearly only caters to Vince, and then we get to be in on the joke too?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, it obviously caters to Vince, but if this is something that he came up with, then I think you're right. But if this is something that someone on the creative team came up with as a joke, as something they're like, oh, Vince is going to love this, then that's different, because I feel like if someone else is in charge of creative may still pitch, you know, seemingly kind of out of left field ideas. Will they get picked up if with the same regularity as these things because they tickle Vince? I don't know, but it depends where this idea came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because obviously, if this was something that Vince conjured up on his private jet flying from one show to the other, yeah, then obviously stuff like this isn't going to be around.
So okay,
if he's not around. But if someone on creative came up with this, and Bruce Pritchett really liked it, and pitched it to Vince, and Vince is like, yeah, sounds great, pal. And
I'd be kind of surprised if Bruce Pritchett was still around. I just when you look at look, if Vince is, let's try to be kind of logical here. If Vince is gone, if Vince is if he's out. And Triple H just showed up at the Performance Center after this stuff started happening and said, I'm back.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to put A and B together and say, okay, Triple H is going to be the guy leading creative once Stephanie's in control. That's a likely scenario. I didn't think it was likely a month ago, but when he shows up at the Performance Center, I'm back. I think it's possible. It's very possible Triple H is going to be the guy leading creative. And when you look at NXT... And I know he has talked about the delineation, but don't you think that, like, when you see what Triple H really loves, it's going to be hard for him to be like, yeah, let's do some of this goofy comedy shit. I just kind of wonder if this stuff is going to go by the wayside.
If you look at Triple H's career, he's not exactly against doing goofy comedy stuff.
Well, he's done the DX stuff, but this is so far removed from that.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I get the feeling this kind of stuff, I mean, for better or worse, because sometimes this stuff is absolute trash.
It is. But here's the thing, too. It's a lot of it is just trash. Oh, Cultaholic with the raid. Thank you so much.
What's up, Cultaholic? Thank you very much for the raid. Everybody go check out Cultaholic.
But sometimes if the people involved in the story are so invested and are having fun with it, it can save a bad idea. You know,
absolutely,
I think, for example, just the maximum male model thing. If you don't have LA Knight involved, if you don't have Mansoor and Mace involved, you have people who aren't as into it involved, it's not going to work.
They seem to be a bit better at that these days. Like the Ezekiel stuff would not have worked without Elias in the role, and Kevin Owens. They seem to be like finding the right fit for this goofy shit. Like a bad example would have been Emelina. It was like they debuted those vignettes before understanding if she was going to be right for it.
Yep.
And I think that they've been testing stuff out, like on in dark matches and stuff, to see if it'll work. And this clearly does, but I just wonder if that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know. They got a lot of goofy stuff going on in NXT, and maybe if they're into that. Maybe if that is, I don't know, maybe it'll be fine. Maybe it'll keep on going for the future. I don't know.
You know, because if Triple H does assume a larger role in creative, should Vince leave, you got to think that Shawn Michaels might be involved to some extent too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as we've seen in NXT 2.0, Shawn Michaels loves goofy shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Loves it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting. It's kind of interesting to look at NXT right now. Look at what SmackDown's doing right now and see that there's probably going to be a pretty big, shift in, and it's interesting to sort of try to, prognosticate what that all means.
Yeah. Because
this maximum male model it's something else. And if it was gone, I'm not sure I'd miss it. But while it's here, it's hilarious.
Here's another thing to consider if Triple H is take over creative and TV ratings are just kind of what they are. Everything else from a business perspective is doing really well. Even like the house show apparently last Saturday in Sacramento got 7,500 people, which is a lot.
Yeah, that is. Yeah,
that's a lot. That's like good for a Raw these days, much less a house show.
Yeah.
So if Triple H were to take over, I don't know if he'd want to do like a wholesale sea change from a creative standpoint. If what they're doing, well, maybe not exactly his cup of tea or the best it could possibly be, is making the company money.
I don't think he'd do it overnight. No, I don't think it would be overnight. Absolutely not. I think, but you'd probably see. I think you'd probably see a stricter adherence to the Vince philosophy at the top to like try to sell at the stadium shows as opposed to this stuff. But I don't know. Triple H, he's a funny guy. He's got his own sense of humor. And we've seen that back in the Black and Gold brand. We saw some element of humor there.
Oh yeah.
So it'll probably just be different. But this stuff that's so Vince is and is kind of funny because of that. Because you can just hear Vince say, "Titillate the juices of your guilty pleasure," which Vince McMahon does have an incredibly juvenile sense of humor.
Yeah.
Which we've seen on screen, we've heard off screen. And so it'll be interesting to watch that go. But also DX is very juvenile too. So it wouldn't shock me to see some of that. God, the Katie Vick stuff, by all accounts, was mainly Triple H, wasn't it? Or was it mainly Vince?
No,
I forget the story
there.
there.
If you I listened to the episode or an episode of Pritchard's show where they talked about it. And what I remember is when they shot that segment at the funeral parlor, which was a real funeral parlor. I guess they were having like a viewing in one of the rooms nearby.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember Vince's direction was to, because I guess Triple H and Pritchard want to do it really over the top.
Okay.
And then it was Vince. It was Vince says, "No, you got to take this seriously. It's funnier that way." And he tried to do the Stanley Kubrick with them. He said, "Okay, we'll do it once your way and once my way, but we're gonna do my way first." And they got it done. He goes, "No, that's great. We're moving on."
Yeah, two minds that I sort of put in the same basket there: Vince McMahon and Stanley Kubrick, visionaries both. What do you think of SmackDown? Otherwise, man.
Not enough wrestling. There was the first 13 minutes of the show, nothing happened. Literally nothing happened.
Oh, that is true, yeah.
They opened up the show. There was a Money in the Bank video package. Commentary explained why Pat McAfee wasn't there and said what was going to happen for the show. We had Roman Menke's entrance, commercial break, and it was like 13 and a half minutes before anything happened when Roman started talking.
Two things really stood out to me on SmackDown this week. Number one, speaking of this opening Roman bit, Theory jogging around the ring is not the way to go. Like that should not be the thing. I get what he's doing. Hey, I'm here. He's trying to play mind games. He looked like an idiot.
So both DKC Returns and Hip Hop Hippo says there was 13 minutes of wrestling over the 2-hour show.
Yeah, that's kind of bogus. That's bogus, man.
That is bogus.
Yeah, the Theory stuff I thought was stupid. It's like that's not. He's coming off like the Miz. He's coming off like the Miz more than anything, and that's not where you want his ceiling to be. No. You don't want this to be a Miz situation because nobody's going to believe, and he'll just have a failed cash in. Another thing that stood out to me was I don't know. I don't think I'm projecting here. I don't know if I've ever seen somebody recently come off as uncomfortable as Lacey Evans in her promo. It was because you got to think, and again, maybe she's doing her damnedest. Maybe she's totally on board with this. Maybe she loves to be she was a pretty decent heel before she left to have a kid. But she spills her guts out in a way that's very real over weeks of vignettes. Those promos that she was doing, talking about actual stuff that happened to her that was traumatic, that got her to a place where she felt she could overcome. A true babyface thing here. And instead, they're saying all that trauma turned her into an asshole because that's what she had to come out and be. And we know that for weeks they were sort of waffling as to whether or not she was going to be a good guy or bad guy. But she came out. she did not look comfortable dropping this promo. And maybe she was trying something different as a character. Maybe that was the intention. I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading it. But it was not something that was like it was interesting. It was just, I don't know. What was your take on the Lacey Evans
We've
thing?
seen her drop promos with a lot of gusto.
Yeah,
with
right.
A lot behind it. And that I understand. That seemed to be missing here.
Yeah.
To a degree. I wonder part of it too is just this constant changing of plans.
Oh,
she's a face. She's a heel. She's on SmackDown. No, you're going to Raw. No, you're back on SmackDown. You're going to be a face. Wait, nope, you're going to be a heel again. You're going to go out there and cut this promo on the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you're trying to find your character and try to find your place amongst, what's going on creative on the show, and every week it's something different, I imagine that's tough to deal with. That can be frustrating. And then, you go out there and you got a segment on the show, and it seems all right. You're going to be heel now, and especially all those promos she did, which everything seemed babyface.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And then it's like, no, you have to go out here and cut this promo on the crowd. It's got to be deflating.
Yeah.
After she poured her heart out into those promos, and thinking, okay, maybe this is speculation. We don't know if she was told at any point, oh, you're going to have a babyface run. This is your character. We're going to do this, and we're going to use your actual life story as your motivation.
Yeah.
And then only for a matter of weeks later be like, nah, you're going to be a heel.
Dude, I honestly don't think it takes much of a leap in logic to suggest that, though.
Oh, I know.
He was clear that she was going to be a babyface, and that's exactly what they did. Hey, you're going to pour your guts out. You're going to tell your real story. I find it so difficult to believe that they would have been, you're going to pour your guts out. You're going to tell your story, and you're going to be a bad guy because of it. Because it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. Even her theme song is a babyface theme song.
I know.
Everything about her packaging right now is babyface.
It was kind of clear that she was supposed to be the person that overcame that was her repackage. Yeah. And I'll be honest, it was a pretty fucking effective one. Like, I loved her stuff. That especially the first one, I was like, oh, this is the stuff that she did back on Breaking Ground.
Yeah.
When she came out and she floored everybody by just pouring her guts out. And now they're letting her do it on main roster as part of her big repackage. And now, oh, well, we need more heels. We need more heels. So you're going to be a heel. What? I just told everybody that my life has been one hurdle after another, one roadblock after another. I suffered through abuse, neglect, moving a lot, et cetera, being uprooted. And I overcame it all. And on top of that, what's the one thing WWE loves? They love the troops. She's a troop.
Yep, former Marine, yeah.
Former Marine. And now I got to go out there and tell everybody they're crap and they can go to hell? What the fuck kind of message does that send? So, I don't know. Again, maybe she's completely 100% on board with this. I just find it kind of hard to believe that. I mean, it just doesn't make any logical sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And when I saw her come out and do the thing where she went out, the theme play, she goes out, she doesn't like the reaction. She goes backstage, tries it again. She gets to the ring, and I don't know if this was necessarily her intent or if this is just how she felt. She looked exhausted by it all.
She did, yeah. That's a great way to put it.
She looked absolutely exhausted by it all, and maybe that was supposed to be the beat she was trying to hit there. You know,
yeah.
I don't know if it was either. It was really convincing, or she's just really exhausted by it all.
Yeah, either one. I don't know. You're right. Maybe she's doing, because I don't like to assume, oh, look at, maybe she's like, no, I'm really giving this my go. I love the idea. I don't know. I'm not fucking there. Yep. But no, it was pretty terrible. A high point was poor Ludwig Kaiser.
Woo.
Getting just chopped to shit because he couldn't handle Shinsuke Nakamura, and that pissed off his boss, Gunther.
Well, it also not that he pissed off Gunther, not just that, but the whole idea behind the match was that Nakamura had to show that he deserved the title shot.
Yeah.
So Ludwig steps in. Is like, okay, Nakamura challenges Ludwig, and so Ludwig's charge is to prove Nakamura doesn't deserve this title shot.
Yeah, right.
You know, he lost. It gives Nakamura a case to get a title opportunity. Ludwig's upset. Walter's upset.
Which actually should be a killer match. You'd think at SummerSlam, right? I mean, that's got to be where this is going. Shinsuke's a pretty big name. He's a pretty big, I mean, not like a huge deal, but he's a pretty decent deal.
Yeah.
That should be, I mean, God, if they give these guys even 12 minutes, oh my God, right? That should be a killer match.
Hell yeah.
Good Lord. Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, that was amazing, unsettling. watching.
Walter yelling at Ludwig in German. Yeah.
Stand up on your feet.
Stand up on your feet. Put your arms at your side.
Yeah. And you can
stick that chest out there so I can chop it.
You can see the blood vessels.
Great.
You can see it just welting up. Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. Anyways, SmackDown started off with a whole bunch of nothing, like you said. Recap after recap after recap. Finally, the Tribal Chief comes out. Acknowledge me. He says there is some Roman sucks chance. There's some Roman chance.
Yeah.
He says, but at the end of the day, when the Tribal Chief is in the house, business picks up. Life is good because as long as God wakes him up, he can handle anything. He's happy to be at work. He's happy to be on his show. It's a privilege to see his bloodline, his family. He says then he sees Wise Man and says he looks like this. He says what did everybody do to him? Why do you look so concerned? Why are you worried? The Tribal Chief is here. You should feel confident. He's a good place. He says, put your hand out. And it's shaking. The hand is shaking. Roman hands him the mic, says, Wise Man, what's wrong?
This Heyman promo is pretty good. He says, I love you, my Tribal Chief, and I love the Usos, but we have a problem. That problem's name is Brock Lesnar. He goes, you're the GOAT. In an era where no one could hold on to a title, you're holding on to both of them. You're held on the Universal title for 600-plus days, heading to a 1,000-day reign. But here's the problem. Brock doesn't respect that. Brock has one last chance against you, and when Brock is cornered, that's when the beast is at his most dangerous. He says, who was 24 wasn't supposed to beat The Rock? Brock. Who wasn't supposed to conquer the Undertaker's streak? Brock. And who has his back against the wall right now? And who's in a do-or-die situation? That's Brock. He says, I'm scared because we're going to have to see a Roman go to like levels of violence we've never seen before. We're going to have you smash Brock. Pinning Brock for 3 seconds is one thing, but putting him down for 10 seconds is something else. So he says to Roman, you're going to have to show up and be a Roman like never before, the most violent, diabolical of beast slayers. And as he says that, like Roman goes from understanding Heyman's worry to get fired up.
Yeah.
Like by the end, he's like, okay, no problem. I can do that. And then Theory does a lap around the ring and just gets to the top of the ramp and holds the briefcase up and talks some crap a little bit.
Some underwhelming crap, yeah.
Meh.
Yeah, he looks like he's a flea, you know?
I know.
It's like nothing.
Like the buzzing of flies to Roman. If I can quote Ghostbusters 2.
And that's how Roman sold it too. You know, It's like, what's this jackass doing out here? It's like, what is this, 24/7 division? That's what it looked like.
I know.
After that, we had the Viking Raiders versus Jinder Mahal and Shanky. Of course, Shanky loves to dance. That's what he was doing during this match. Let's see here. The Raiders hit a double team Bower Bomb, get the win here on Jinder. And then they beat down Jinder and Shanky after the bell. The New Day come out. They got mics with them. They say, hold up, Raiders. Kobe says, last 2 weeks, Raiders kicked our butts, but our butts are still here. That means the Raiders didn't do their jobs well enough. Wood says those beatdowns were not sanctioned, which means they don't count. So we found ourselves some ass-beating tickets. They produced the tickets. Kobe says it means tonight we're going to give the ass-whooping the Raiders they deserve. The New Day hit the ring. The Viking Raiders just beat them down.
Yeah, they did. Then we go to commentary, and Michael Cole says Pat McAfee isn't there because of Corbin beating him up after Money in the Bank, and they show footage of that. And then Corbin comes down. During the beatdown, Corbin accepts Pat's challenge for a match at SummerSlam. Then Corbin joins commentary. He says, well, if Pat's not here, I'm going to come out here and show that I can do it 100 times better. He joins commentary for this Ludwig versus Nakamura match. And he's totally making fun whenever Nakamura's theme plays. Of course, Pat gets on the announce table, plays air guitar, so on and so forth. Corey Graves was filling in for Pat. And Corbin was just making fun of McAfee going wild during that entrance. Got Corey Graves on the announce desk to do it with him.
Yeah, Cole was pretty miserable because Corey was doing his sort of heel thing as opposed to McAfee, who's just happy to super WWE fan guy thing.
Yeah,
and so Corey was feeding in all the Corbin stuff. So yeah, it was a different dynamic. I thought it was pretty funny because when so Gunther comes out and Ludwig cuts a promo, says there's no competitor worthy of standing in the ring. That's a terrible accent. He says, much less competing with Gunther. He says, it's my opinion that none in attendance are worthy of seeing Gunther compete tonight. He says, I know that other IC champs have defended the title in an open challenge. He gives the mic to Gunther. He says, any champ who defends his title against an unknown opponent is a fool. He says, somebody has to deserve his title shot. And Ludwig says, I'm being honest. And then before he can continue, he's interrupted by Nakamura. So that's when Corbin gets super excited the way McAfee does. He gets on the commentary desk. He starts air guitaring. Graves gets up there and joins him. They're rocking out together. So Nakamura gets right in Gunther's face. He says, you don't want to accept my challenge. He says, you can keep your challenge for now. He says, but what about Kaiser? He says, how about we have a match? Ludwig looks over at Gunther, and Gunther nods in approval, so Ludwig accepts. So we have Shinsuke versus Ludwig Kaiser. Mm-hmm. Of course, Shinsuke gets the win here with a Kinshasa. Gunther gets in the ring, starts berating Ludwig in German, tells him to stand. Put your arms by your side. Chops him. Oh, he collapses. Gets back up. Put your arms to your side. Chops him again. Gets him back up. Makes him puts his arms to his side.
Great.
Fucking annihilates him with chops
again.
So
good.
Yeah, it was
Loved
really,
every second of that.
It was really
great.
Good stuff.
Then we got a video package on Liv Morgan winning the Smackdown Women's Championship at Money in the Bank. She comes to the ring for an interview with Michael Cole. So Michael Cole congratulates her on her win. Says that she'll probably get a rematch against Ronda, maybe at SummerSlam. And Liv says, bring it. Can't wait. She says winning the title is the culmination of a lifetime of hard work, sweat, and tears. She knows what it took to get where she is now, and she's willing to work 10 times harder to stay there. No one wants this championship more than she does. And Cole says, says 10 years ago, Liv was working as a waitress, saving up all her money to become a sports entertainer. She wears her heart on her sleeve. She suffered so many setbacks. What does it mean to be champ? And Liv says it means everything to her. She dreamed about this her whole life. Sometimes she felt like she'd never get here, but here she is. So she'd like to take this as a reminder to do, as John Cena says, never give up.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's interrupted by Natalya. It says, you can dream. Oh, she says, I can dream too of when you shut up. The only reason you're champ is because of me. Your Cinderella story is going to come to an end. And there's no way in hell Liv would have beat Ronda fresh. Liv only won the title because Natalya, injured Ronda. And she says, while I may have lost my match, I still enjoyed the hell out of injuring Ronda. So Ronda Rousey limps down to the ring. She congratulates Liv. Says, but savor this honeymoon phase because at SummerSlam, you're going to learn that challenging for the title is easier than defending it. And that Ronda turns her attention to Natalya, says, I'm not dressed to compete right now. But then she asks the crowd if they want to see her beat the crap out of Natalya. Natalya blasts Ronda out of the ring, and Liv throws Natalya out. Go to commercial, come back. We get Ronda Rousey versus Natalya.
Yeah, this is relatively quick. Natalya ends up tapping out to an ankle lock. What are the odds that Ronda Rousey gets that title back at SummerSlam? She's got to. They got to give this at least a big pay-per-view win for Liv Morgan, right?
I would think so. Yeah, this seems to be kind of the template they use for babyface Money in the Bank cash-ins. They do the opportunistic cash-in, then they have the rematch. They win the rematch.
Yeah, like Big E won against Lashley. He won against Drew. They lined up a couple of relatively big opponents. When it came to the big names, he would fall short, like Roman at Survivor Series. So I kind of feel like Liv's probably going to beat Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam, but then when Charlotte comes back, she'll probably lose that title back to Charlotte.
Probably.
That's my suspicion. Maybe, but I mean, I don't know. That would probably then lead to Bayley versus Charlotte. I would think after that, if Bayley's going to come back, because Bayley's got to be, people are going to be so happy to see Bayley. She's got to be a good guy at least for the short term.
You think so.
So anyways, after that, we had a Drew McIntyre interview. Of course, that night he was supposed to have a match with Sheamus. for that spot at Clash of the Castle. He says, recently I've been to Europe. He says, to Cardiff. And he says, Clash of the Castle is going to be huge. And, I've made it clear I'm coming after Roman. I'm sorry, the champ. It could be Roman, Brock, or even Theory. He says, I care less. I'm focused on my old nemesis, Sheamus. The stakes have never been higher. He says, I know there's 3 of them, and I know I'm going to beat them down the first chance I get. He says, but I got a 3-2, and I'm going to hear, and I'll hear it right before I kick his head off his body. Of course, he's talking about the 3 count.
Countdown to Claymore, yeah.
After that, we had Maximum Male Model 2022 Tennis Collection.
Yeah. So Max Dupree is in the ring, says the debut of Maximum Male Models was a smashing success and a viral sensation, and this week they offer a captivating treat to the WWE Universe as they offer their 2022 tennis collection. First up,
beautiful.
A man whose looks will serve your inner needs and desire.
It'll serve your
I know.
Yeah, the tennis puns were so hilarious.
It really was. And it's Mace. Mace. So he comes in, like a polo. He's got a sweater tied around his shoulders. He had shorts on, kind of doing the similar thing last week, but didn't mention his ankles. Then next,
I was very disappointed in that.
Me too. I was waiting for the ankles.
Yeah.
This is next, a man who oozes appeal and evinces the essence of game, set, match. This man Swa. He walks out and he looks like he has like 3 tennis balls in each of his pockets.
He does. Corey Graves even mentioned that. He was like, does he have tennis balls? He was like, well, of course, he's going to play tennis. His tennis collection.
Yeah, God, that cracked me up. God, that cracked me up.
God, and yeah, these guys are just on the verge the entire time of cracking up. So I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the numbers on the debut of Maximum Male Models, and sure enough, for the episode of Smackdown as it pertains to YouTube, the top viewed thing was Adam Pearce's makes a huge match en route to 627,000 people watched Adam Pearce's announcement for Money in the Bank because it was the go home stuff.
Yeah.
After that was the good old fashioned Battle Royal finale. And then after that was Maximum Male Model with 294,000 views. So, yeah, it was, I don't know about viral or what, but it did pretty damn well. This week, it's a little bit less than that. The Ronda Rousey, it's funny, the Ronda Rousey-Natalya match, actually, Drew McIntyre versus Butch is almost at 500,000.
Wow.
Comparatively speaking, the Usos versus Los Lotharios is a little bit less, a little bit more than half that. It's 277. Lacey Evans has 321,000. Maximum Male Models down to 100. Jeez. Ronda Rousey versus Natalya is at 876,000. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah, my goodness.
That is a lot.
Oh, Theory. Wow. Theory toys with Roman Reigns at 1.6 million. Oh, my God.
Roman's a draw.
But Theory's in the thumbnail.
Huh. Maybe just because it's Money in the Bank. I don't know.
Yeah, still, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah. Wow. Roman's a draw.
Yeah.
Anyways. What's happening now? What's going on?
Oh, next we had
I love also. Sorry. So like they got a website where you can apply to be a Maximum Male Model. A full body shot. The funny thing is Cole asked Corey Graves, who, by the way, Corey Graves might be the most handsome guy in wrestling. He is a super handsome guy. Go ahead, see if you can find a more handsome male than.
Well, like Angel Garza is a really handsome
dude. It's not even close. I'm sorry, it's not even close. Corey Graves looks like a model. This dude, like his cheekbone, he looks like a freaking model. He was like, he said something like, God, what did he say? Number one, Corey had some good lines. He said something like, he was like, growing up, I was too poor to play tennis, Cole.
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, I applied. They haven't got back to me yet. I'm like, dude, Corey, they're going to get back to you. You're a very good-looking guy. Anyways.
Then after, the website. Then we got a Theory interview. He says, I was just out there letting Roman know that the youngest Mr. Money in the Bank is always watching. He says, I'd love to cash in on Brock after the way Roman treated me, but he got to see how arrogant Roman is up close. He says, people don't like me, but I love that people don't like me. People want someone to knock Roman off his pedestal. He says, at SummerSlam, become a 2-time U.S. champ after I defeat Lashley. And that last man standing match, whoever survives better be ready for a cash-in. He says Roman is screwed because either Brock is going to beat him or I am. He says the same thing with Brock. Either Roman's going to beat him or I am. So Theory leaves, and then Madcap Moss walks in and says, that's a big briefcase.
Mm-hmm.
But I bet I can shove all of it in his mouth. I'd love to try. So they have a match next week.
Yeah. After that, we had Aaliyah. It was supposed to be Aaliyah and Lacey Evans in a tag match. So Lacey comes out, unhappy with her reception, goes backstage, comes out again. She does it again. She gets the mic, gets in the ring. She says, before our opponents come out, I want to take a minute to say how completely disgusted I am with all you people. She said, that's the response I get. That's the reaction I get. She said, don't the fans know who I am, what I've been through? She says, I know you know what I went through because I poured my heart out and told my life stories. And for what? Those reactions and those cheers. She says, it bothers the fans to look at me and realize they couldn't go through half of that. But when Lacey Evans comes to the ring, I get a standing ovation. So the fans too weighed down by the pulled pork and brisket that they can't even stand up, which is kind of a funny thing there. Pulled pork and brisket. It's just an off-the-wall reference. So the fans are disgusting. She said, I'm an American hero. I put my life on the line for all of you. Until I get the respect I deserve, every single one of you can go to hell. And then she's about to leave the ring. Aaliyah grabs her on the shoulder, and Lacey, whoop-ah, drops her with a woman's right.
Yep. Next, we had the Usos versus Los Lotharios. This match lasted maybe 2 minutes. Usos win with the 1D.
Yeah.
It was so short.
Yeah.
And Usos dominated pretty much throughout. Afterwards, they have an interview. So Kayla shows footage of the finish, the Money in the Bank, and then accuses the Usos of cheating. I'm like, how did they cheat?
Yeah, their point was solid. It was on the ref for that.
It was on the ref. Ref should have saw it.
Yeah, no, this entire thing is completely asinine. I'm sorry.
It really
but like,
is. So
number one, the ref should have seen it, and if Montez heard the ref counting 1-2, he should have kicked up.
And if he didn't, then he wasn't he wouldn't have kicked out if his shoulders were on the mat.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyways, Kayla says there's rumors there'll be a special guest ref for their SummerSlam match against Street Profits. Jimmy says, well, if they're taking volunteers, he knows someone in mind. He does the Roman.
Yeah, like Roman's going to lower himself to being a special guest ref.
I know. And then Jay says, so long as whoever it is can count to 3, Street Profits will be 2s. They're the ones.
So speculate, man. Who's going to be the special guest referee? I don't know if it'd be a great way or a terrible way to introduce Solo Sikoa.
Oh, yeah.
Judging by your reaction, a terrible way.
It wouldn't be the best way. If when he's going to debut Impact,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. That's why I was saying, I don't know, I like the idea of him showing up and being a special guest ref for that. It's kind of an impact.
I mean, a couple people here in chat have a good name, Sami Zayn.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that makes
makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it'll probably be Sammy. Then we had our main event. It was supposed to be Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus. As Sheamus was making his entrance, he dropped a promo, says the winner tonight gets title match Clash in the Castle. And Drew, I have your number. He goes, oh, I got a little tickle in my throat. I think I got a dose of the COVID. That's what he says. While he's standing in front of his coworkers and several thousand people. He says, rules state I can't compete until I get tested. But don't worry, I have a backup in mind. There will be a match because Butch is foaming at the mouth to fight you, Drew. And Drew wins in about 2 minutes.
Yeah. So was it off camera or on camera? You said this is kind of tacky.
It is a bit tacky.
I know. Look, it's weird times. To be so flip about it is a little weird. But I can't say that I haven't cracked a joke or two here and there, so I'm not going to talk shit. I was kind of surprised that he got a little bit of the COVID. What? But yeah, no, I get it. But it is what it is, man.
Yeah,
everybody's dealing with this shit these days. So sometimes all you can do is laugh at it. And so
Ridge hits the ring. He gets a future shock DDT from Drew. Sheamus is about to get in the ring. Drew gets his sword and meets him before Sheamus walks through the ropes. He's standing on the apron. He's talking some crap, and then Drew's about to take a swing. So Sheamus jumps off the apron to the floor, and Drew chops the top rope right in half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. They went, whoop her. Yeah. So there you go. AEW's Rampage on the road to Fyter Fest.
Yeah.
Saw some fun wrestling take place. Also on the road to, of course, Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor. And we saw heel turn. An alliance between the current Ring of Honor champion, Jonathan Gresham, shaking hands, but this time to signal true alliance with him and Tully Blanchard Enterprises. So, I mean, I guess that kind of begs the question, Larson. Where does then Brian Cage fall on the pecking order there in Tully Blanchard Enterprises? Woo! See, that worked for both our visual audience and our audio.
Because that's the universal sound of downward. Woo! Yeah. If at one point I thought, oh, Brian Cage, he's a title contender. If in Tully Blanchard Enterprise, that is until the champion joins said faction. In which case,
well, there's other titles. There's the TV title, which is currently around the waist of Samoa Joe, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Flats 3 here in chat says Philadelphia street fight level of confusion for Brian on his Tully Blanchard Enterprises spot.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So
Ouch.
Yeah, cause I think the two most the two names people thought that Gresham might face at Death Before Dishonor would be Lee Moriarty or Brian Cage.
Yeah, right.
Moriarty matches happened on Dynamite, which will be awesome. But unless Brian Cage just wakes up, I don't know, Saturday morning, saw what happened, is like, oh, I don't be in this faction anymore, I quit. Short of that, I don't see how he's getting a title match at Death Before Dishonor.
Yeah, why are they doing that? The Moriarty Moriarty Gresham match at Death Before Dishonor.
I think to promote the pay-per-view. I imagine they'll set up Gresham's opponent for the pay-per-view after that match.
Give me 5 awesome names for him. I mean, Claudio? You gonna give it? Unless Claudio's gonna win.
But I feel like Claudio is like firmly AEW.
Yeah, he should be looking at that TNT title.
Yeah,
or the world title.
All Atlantic title,
or the All Atlantic title.
Some names for Jonathan Gresham to face. See, part of it is I wonder, once Ring of Honor gets their own show, how much crossover is there going to be for ROH and AEW on Dynamite or Rampage? Because right now, especially on Rampage, there's quite a bit. Is Rampage going to kind of be like the de facto weekly show, at least to set up stories to Ring of Honor going forward?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good question. You would think that there would not be a ton of crossover there, but I just figured, man, Lee Moriarty, that's like the guy for Death Before Dishonor.
Yeah,
but if that's just going to be Dynamite, then like, wait, is that going to be Dynamite or Rampage?
Rampage. Yeah,
Rampage. And then you have, like, you got Garcia and Wheeler Yuta at the pure title level. Like, what's somebody, I guess, lower than Claudio that's still sort of representing Ring of Honor?
I mean, the first two names that popped in my head were Brody King and Roosh.
Okay.
Roosh, the former Ring of Honor champ. But they're both heels at this point.
Yeah, and there's both kind of firmly AEW. But then I guess, yeah, you're right. It's a bit nebulous, who's going to go where. Yeah, I don't know. Like, is there somebody
Sting versus Jonathan Gresham?
Perfect. Awesome. Let's do it. Kicked off with a killer match. Oh, my God. The finishing sequence
tons of fun.
To this Kingston Konosuke Takeshita match was phenomenal. This was fun. Really, really good stuff. It cracked me up, though, because JR was on commentary. And the first thing that commentary does, and Excalibur was doing the thing where he was just being too Excalibur. Like, Tony, God bless him. Tony was trying to make some good points about certain things. And then Excalibur just start running him down. We're not running him down, but like just start launching into, oh my God, he did this. Oh, reminds me of Jumbo Ceruta and whoever else. And then Tony's like, okay, so as I was saying, I'm like, Excalibur, let a guy tell a fucking story for once, man. Then JR, of course, they put over commentary. Commentary puts over Takeshita's, this is his 10-year anniversary in wrestling.
And he's only 26 or something like that.
So then what does JR say? He's like, oh yeah, tons of potential, but you gotta utilize that potential. It's like, he's been in the business 10 years, man. They just said that.
I know.
Oh man. But anyways, no, this was, it didn't really take away from this match. This match was absolutely killer.
Oh, phenomenal.
Eddie hits a back fist and Takeshita basically no-sells it to hit a jumping knee. But then that's just a little burst of adrenaline because Eddie hits another back fist, whoop-ah, and then he falls on Takeshita for the cover and gets the win there. But just a killer match.
Yeah, it was tons of fun. Tons of fun. After that, we had... sorry, I lost my spot here. We had a...
Athena Chris Statlander
promo. So they call Jade Cargill a coward.
Coward.
A coward. Said that they say that she's so scared that she's denied herself real competition. And they say they aren't going anywhere until they get what they want, which is a TBS title shot.
Yep. Then we had a Hook video package, followed by Gates of Agony versus Lee Moriarty and Jonathan Gresham. So at one point, during much of this match, of course, Lee Moriarty is just isolated. They're just beating the crap out of him.
Yep.
And he finally gets over to Gresham. Gresham's staring at him, and he goes for the tag. Well, Gresham then turns and just walks towards Tully Blanchard, who seems to be distracting him. JR goes off. How can it be so stupid? Why would you just look at your guy? And I'm sort of thinking the same thing. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And then sure enough, it all happens again. Lee Moriarty goes for a tag, and then Gresham just goes, nope, not happening. They're like, whoa, what is happening right now?
It was a well executed turn because it was one of those things where we'll see matches where someone's going to turn or does turn afterwards, and yet they're still involved in the match and getting beat up by the people there in their faction. So early on, like right at the bell, Gates of Agony attack Moriarty and Gresham. I think Gresham was just pushed out of the ring or something like that. And then Moriarty's isolated for basically the rest of the match. And you mentioned the two times that they had the hot tag attempts. But it wasn't a situation where Gresham was like actively fighting his faction mates at any point in this match. It was actually pretty well done in that respect.
No, it was. And JR selling Gresham, like, why would he just turn, but there was that sort of element of, because I went back and I watched it and I was like, why the fuck did he just walk away? I was like, Blanchard was walking over there. But I'm like, that's really weird for the Ring of Honor champion to act that dumb. And then, no, there's a reason for it. He's just a bad guy now. But no, you're right. It was really well done. And then, what is it? Khan hits a gut buster. The other guy hit Lee with that discus lariat that just completely destroyed him. And then, so what are their names? It's Khan and Toa?
Toa. Starts with an L.
Toa Heavy Sigh. That's his name.
Toa. Let me see it. I'll see what it's like. I could
see who's faster, Chat or Larson. Anyways, Toa covers for the win as you look that up. After that, we have a killer.
I
Eddie
think it's
Kingston.
Toa Leona?
Lanoa. According to Dark Dank Lucha. Toa Ligma. So we get an Eddie Kingston promo. Says, because of Takeshita, he says, my neck and back hurts. He says, he's the future. He says, tell Akiyama he said hello. He says, but after beating such a young, hungry competitor, he says, I've earned the right to turn my attention to Chris and his group, especially on what they did to my Ruby, to my poor Ruby. He says, they're going to pay for that. Chris, I'm going to make you bleed because of what you did to Santana Ortiz and to my Ruby. He says, I'm going to get your blood because I don't like being a liar. Everybody said, you're a liar, Eddie, because you didn't drink his blood. Didn't make him bleed. He says, I want a barbed wire match. Barbed wire everywhere, Chris. He says, every drop of blood is a sin you've committed, Chris. And that last drop before you pass out, that's for Ruby. He loves
good
Ruby.
Stuff. Good promo.
Yeah. No, it was fantastic.
Then we get Serena Deeb and Mercedes Martinez take on Kayla Sparks and Christina Marie. Another short bout here. Martinez hits a forearm on Marie. Deeb tags herself in, puts Christina Marie and Serenity locked to get the win. However, Serena Deeb does not release the hold after the bell. Martinez just kind of like forces her to relinquish the hold. They argue for a bit, and then Deeb drops Martinez with lariat, puts her in the Serenity Lock. So there's your Ring of Honor Women's Championship match for Death Before Dishonor.
Jorge D has a little point here. It says, Eddie and Ruby being friends came out of nowhere for me. But the thing is, every time Eddie's been attacked backstage since Ruby's been there, she runs to an aid. Yeah, she runs to his aid. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. After that, we had a Tully and Gresham interview. Gresham says, Lee's not my partner. He says, I'm the foundation of Ring of Honor, yet I signed my deal in March. I've been sitting at home this whole time till I got a call from Tully, and I'd be a fool not to listen to him. Shivani tells Gresham that Moriarty gets a title match on Rampage. Tully says, I don't know if there's going to be enough of Lee after the match tonight. He says for the match next week, but we're all going to be there because Tully Enterprises is alive and well. They do the handshake again.
Then we have our customary pre-main event interview, this time between Tony Nese and Orange Cassidy. Mark Sterling, again, reiterates the stipulation for this bout. If Tony Nese wins, then Orange Cassidy has to sign the petition to kick Swerve out of AEW.
Yeah.
Danhausen pops into screen with Orange, says, objection, I'm Orange's lawyer. Sterling, if you have a question for Orange Cassidy, you got to run it through me. He tells Orange he can answer, and Orange just says, I don't care. And then Tony Nese says, Orange, not signing that petition will be the biggest mistake you've made in your life.
Ooh. There's been enough talking. Before the match, though, we've had Lee Moriarty and Matt Sydal interview. Sydal just sort of pissed off, says his actions were disrespectful. And Lee says, it's going to be a fight. Taking the title. And then we had the main event, Tony Nese versus Orange Cassidy. It was good stuff.
It's a fun bout.
They actually had me thinking for a second that Nese was going to win this thing.
They did their job then.
Yeah.
It didn't happen, though. Tony Nese misses a running Nese, and he's selling knee injury, so Aubrey Edwards has to check on him. So Sterling gets in the ring with a clipboard. He's about to hit Orange with it. Danhausen gets in there, punches Mark Sterling right in the front area. Right in the front area.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
So then Nese goes after Danhausen. He gets cursed. Orange hits an orange punch for the win. But it was a fun bout. Really fun bout.
Yup. All right. So, in a little bit, we're going to answer some questions. That video is going to go up over at Friendo Club TV. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. We'll notify bell next to it. And, yeah, till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Stone Cold Steve Austin impersonator Phil McDonald, here to tell you to go support Going In Raw on Friendo Club at patreon.com/Steven Larson. They got bonus episodes, ad-free audio, a weekly newsletter rounding up the week in wrestling news, and a bunch more. Patreon.com/Steven Larson. Go support or get hit with a stunner.